Hello and welcome. I'm Jules and this is my art vendor where today we are going to turn some blobs into bunnies. First off, I'm going to tape up one of my abstract watercolor backgrounds that we have made. I will link the video on how to make these at the end of this. I'm just taping it up into 8 equal sections with washi tape, and I am going to begin to drop in some very transparent, very watery watercolor blobs in these squares. You see, I'm almost filling up the square. I'm not going all the way to the edges. I'm making sure I can see the background through it, and I'm going to make sure that it is thoroughly dry before I go on to the next step, which is a very thin, watery layer of like a bluish green that's just going to give a bit of a shadow. You see how light it is drying, and I'm going to make sure that this thoroughly dries too. That way, we are about to add our white watercolor gouache, and we're going to load up our brush really thick with a lot of pigment as we start to put down these rabbit head shapes. Okay, so I am just going to build like a little oval, a little football shape almost that is contained within the yellow that we have already put down. And as you see in the upper right-hand corner, I added the rabbits or the bunnies as they are when I finished them, just so you can see what I see in my head as I built them. So I'm going to go slowly on the first 2 on each of these layers and then kind of speed through the other 6. But I want you to see over and over again the same techniques, and I think that's how we learn is repetition. You know, you get what you repeat, and this is going to define your future success. I learned that quote from this book called Atomic Habits, a very great book. So anyway, I'm just doing the football shape and 2 little sticks for ears, and I'm going to continue those out in these other 6 right here. And then I'll, of course, let this dry. Okay, now I'm going to get my crayon d'ache. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not really sure. It's like a little watercolor crayon, and they put down a whole lot of pigment. So I'm going to grab this and just kind of scrub in that football shape and the shape of the ears. But I'm going to make it slightly smaller than the white pigment that we already have put down. So again, I'll go slowly on these first 2 and then buzz through the next 6. So you can see I'm just adding that super, super, super white in the middle, getting a lot of pigment down onto the page. Ears, ears. Yeah. And I'm scrubbing in the other ones. You can see that's just deepening it. Excellent. Okay, next step. I'm going to get a little bit of the Daniel Smith neutral tint, and we're going to begin picking out some of the outlines of the face and the ears. I'm also going to pick out the 2 main shapes that I think defines a rabbit. So what is that? It's the nose and the mouth, and I think the ears. I think those are the two defining characteristics that make a rabbit. So I make sure that I put the nose and the mouth, just those 2 little V shapes connected by a line, that I put them very small in the face. And I can choose anywhere in that oval to put it, and then I can lay in the eyes accordingly as to where I put that and what direction the nose and mouth is facing. So as you see, I've dropped the first 2 in very loosely. Haven't really committed to much of anything. It's a very light gray, and I can always change it as I go. So I'm going to buzz in these next 6. You see the tiny mouth and nose. I'm adding the eyes, going around the ears, and I'm making sure that I'm leaving some of that yellow in the background that we blobbed in. I just think that gives it a nice little glow. This one up in the top right, I'm making look off to the right. I like that. These others are facing forward, dropping in the eyes. And then what we're going to do now is get some pink, some of that opera rose, and fill in the ears and the nose. I think that will help our brains cement down that these are rabbits. These are bunnies that we're looking at, and they're super cute. Oh my gosh. Each one is going to have its own little personality. Each one is a little bit different, but I'm using the same shapes over and over again, and I'm just turning the head slightly. Again, a very good lesson in repetition and patterns. All right, so that looks good with the pink in there. Now I'm going to go back and get some more neutral tint and start popping in the eyes, making some things a little bit darker. I'm going to pop in some shadows, and I'm going to pop in little bitty feet. I'm just going to put in the front 2 feet on these guys. I know that's a little odd, but I think it's super cute just to have the 2 feet sticking out. I have tried adding a tail in the past, and I just didn't like it that much. I thought it detracted from the rabbit, but you are welcome to add a tail anywhere you like, or whatever shape you have made your bunnies. It is your artistic license to do so as you please. Okay, so I'm dropping in the eyeballs a little bit darker. I'm just gradually going around, putting shadows where it makes sense, where objects are coming together. So like where the ears are meeting the head, or where the body legs meet the chin, or underneath of the rabbit head. He's looking pretty cute. He looks pretty sweet and innocent. This next one looks a little more mischievous, and I need to bring up and out that left side of the head a little bit. That's why I brought it up. And later I can always add in a little bit more white pigment to make the face more full. And right here I'm experimenting with some shadow if the light was coming in from the right, and what that would do to the left side of the face. I'm not sure I like it. I think the really white face looks better on these rabbits. So I'm just going to grab some water on my brush and smooth this out. And I can always, again, add more white gouache near the end to brighten up the face. Okay. Little mid-tones on this one. That looks good. All right, here we go with these others. That one's looking up and to the left. That one down to the left. That one looks mischievous. This guy here looks pretty sweet. Just building out their cheeks and their ears. A little bit of shadows around, dropping in the eyes. Of course, if you need to look at a reference photo, go for it. But I really encourage your imagination. Just ask yourself, what makes a rabbit in your mind? And then hit those elements. Okay, right now I'm dropping in more white on the eye. And yeah, a little dot in the pupil part, darkening it. I'm just going back and forth between the dark and the light paint, sharpening edges, defining it. Oh, that's so cute. Just making things a little bit more sharp. Okay. Okay, this one I'm not enjoying so much. I think it's the back of his head that doesn't look quite right. So I'm going to grab more white gouache, and I'm just going to bring his head down, and down pretty far. And I think that's more of a rabbit-shaped head. That's more oval. And I think if he's looking to the right, we would see more of the side of his head. So I think that's probably appropriate. I just need to come back now with some of that darker pigment and hit around the edges, build some fluff in the cheek. There we go. Yeah, that looks better to me. So yeah, he's not my favorite, but he looks better than he did. All right, I'm going to get some white gouache, and now I start going around and fluffing up the faces. Just sharpening everything, bringing the white out to meet the dark outline. And you see I dance around and I do the same thing on each one as I go, and it just, the repetition really pays off. Okay, so now I'm taking the washi tape off and I will assess what we have and where we need to sharpen any lines if so. I love taking the washi tape off. Isn't that great? Oh, they're so cute, you guys, with that little bit of yellow poking out behind them. I'm just going to go around now and darken up the edges where maybe that white fell over some of the dark, just sharpening that up. These guys would make great stickers because it's such a compact shape. And again, they all have their personalities. I love it. I am so glad that you joined me today to make these little blobs to bunnies in watercolor. Please check out some of my other videos, and I will see you next time. Cheers.